This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. Tomorrow is primary election day in St. Louis, and joining me to talk about it is Rachel Lippmann, STLPR City Politics, Public Safety, and Courts reporter. Rachel, it's great to have you on the show again.
It's always good to be on, Elaine.
So before we get into some of the specific races, Rachel, it's only been since 2021 that St. Louis has used an approval voting system. Remind us what that means.
Approval voting allows for individuals who cast their ballots to select as many candidates as they support in the primary election. And then the top two total vote getters advance to April's general election. That means that if you like all four candidates who are in the race, you can vote for all four of them. You can vote for the two people you think most align with your values, or individuals who want to do it strategically could vote for their candidate of choice and the one they think is going to be easiest to beat.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are four primaries altogether, and those are for mayor, comptroller, and then there are two seats on the board of aldermen. So let's begin with the race for mayor. Can you set this one up for us, Rachel?
There are four contestants in the primary for St. Louis mayor. Incumbent Tishaura Jones is making her third run. Alderwoman Cara Spencer of the 8th Ward is making her second run. Recorder of Deeds Michael Butler makes his first run for mayor, and retired utility executive Andrew Jones is making his also third run for the office. This is one where Tishaura Jones is campaigning on, give me a chance to continue to implement the policies that I am working towards. She points to the fact that it takes decades of disinvestment in North St. Louis are not going to be corrected in 4 years. She says that she has modernized the operations of the city, including for accounting and payroll. And she, like I said, is continuing to push for allowing her to continue to invest in North St. Louis. Both Cara Spencer and Michael Butler have been campaigning heavily on the lack of city services, and they've really been emphasizing the city's response to the January winter storm, the fact that it led to trash not being picked up, side streets weren't plowed. Cara Spencer has also been focusing on the problems that were unveiled by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch in the North Side business grants. Meanwhile, Andrew Jones focuses on his business background, saying that he is the one person with the experience to really do development and pull St. Louis out of its downward spiral.
Mm-hmm. Now, how likely do you think it is, Rachel, that we'll end up seeing a rematch of 2021, that is, a head-to-head between current Mayor Tishaura Jones and Alderwoman Cara Spencer?
I think that is starting to shape up a lot more likely. There is always the off chance that Michael Butler may be the second choice of enough people to rise into that top spot. But I think there are still enough partisans on both sides of the Tishaura Jones, Cara Spencer debate that they'll get out and support their candidates. May Cara Spencer get more votes in the election than Tishaura Jones? Possibly, yes. But I do think a rematch is likely, and that's just simply on their ability to get their message out. Obviously, Tishaura Jones, as the incumbent, can get earned media. She gets coverage just solely for being the mayor of the city of St. Louis. Cara Spencer has a lot of money that she can spend on getting her message out there. So again, there is a chance that it is perhaps Spencer Butler, but I think a rematch is likely.
Mm-hmm. Now, in this race between Tishaura Jones and Cara Spencer specifically, things have really heated up, especially in the last week, and maybe that's not much of a surprise because the primary election is tomorrow. But Rachel, how is it that you would describe the tenor of what is happening?
I think it has gotten, I wouldn't call it nasty, but certainly pointed and targeted. And it hasn't always necessarily been attacks on policy. You're starting to see more attacks on fundraising, on, who is donating. There was a whole thing about a likely fake website that had pictures of AI images of Tishaura Jones and also spoke of being in support of Republican candidates. So it's moving out of the field of, I disagree with this person on policy or the job that they are doing, and more to what you would call maybe not traditional, but usual political attacks on things that aren't directly related to policy or how the individual would do the job.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is top of mind for St. Louis citizens in this election, Rachel?
I really do think the provision of city services is just top of mind for most people. It's a candidate has never won an election based on the response to a snowstorm, but there have certainly been candidates who have lost based on the response to their snowstorm. And when it's continued to be conveyed time and time and time again, it just reminds people that, yes, that response was not the best. And the mayor did admit later that she did not pivot quickly enough to respond to the needs of citizens. And, potholes, irregular trash pickup, those kind of things that just, resonate in the minds of citizens and, are things being delivered, are those basics needs being met from a municipal standpoint, I think are certainly leading concerns for most people in the city, regardless of who they are voting for.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, let's get to the Comptroller's race. Now, this is the city position that is responsible for financial and accounting functions, which includes overseeing the city's budget, distributing federal grants, auditing the city's spending, and more. Who's running in this race?
Incumbent Darlene Green is seeking her 8th full term in office. She's touting her experience that has led to numerous increases in the city's credit rating that makes it cheaper to borrow money. The other candidates in the race are Donna Berenger. She is a former state representative and alderwoman from her base of power was the southwest side of the city. She is running on just 30 years in office is too much. There are things that have been falling through the cracks that could jeopardize the city's financial position in the future. And she is touting her ability to dig into budget documents and ask questions that people maybe don't want her to ask. The final candidate in this race is Celeste Metcalf. She is a CPA who has experience in the entertainment industry, and she's also done some contracting work for city offices. And she says the work that she did there showed her that the city's just kind of basic accounting infrastructure is flawed. She points to things like when she went to register for the race, she had to pay an entry fee, and that there were not pre-numbered receipts. So it wasn't like receipts were pre-printed with, 969, 970, 971, etc. And she said that just makes it harder to keep track of and monitor the ins and outs of the city's finances.
Mm-hmm. There are also 2 aldermanic primaries. Let's get sort of a brief run through of those. Ward 3, what's happening there? Who's competing?
Ward 3 is down in southeast St. Louis. It is centered around the Dutchtown neighborhood. Shane Cohn is a 5-term incumbent who has run unopposed in almost all of his races since his first one. He is touting his experience and saying that his, knowledge and ins and outs of City Hall and the process of passing legislation make him best equipped to meet the needs of the ward. He has 2 challengers. Dallas Adams is a community advocate who formerly worked for Great Rivers Greenway, and she and Inez Bordeaux, she's a nurse and an activist. You're probably most familiar with her from the Close the Workhouse campaign. Mm-hmm. They are essentially both saying that 5 terms in office is more than enough. We need to get in somebody who is going to tackle issues from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. The 11th ward is the other race where there is a primary election. And this is incumbent Laura Keyes. The 11th ward is a big one. It stretches from Fairground Park at its northern border all the way down to the new Target by Slough at its southern border. And in this race, you have Laura Keyes, who is a relatively new alderwoman, but she also has a lot of political experience as a Democratic committee woman. She is being challenged by Melinda Long, who is also a former alderwoman. She was recalled back in the early 2000s, and Rebecca McLeod, who currently works for Charter Spectrum and is a complete political newbie. All 3 women are focusing on bringing development to that ward, but both Melinda Long and Rebecca McLeod say that they'll do a better job.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, thanks so much for giving us that primer. Rachel Lippmann covers city politics, courts, and public safety for St. Louis Public Radio. You can see our voter guide at stlpr.org/voter guide. We need to take a quick break. Up next, meeting the father-son lumberjack duo repping St. Louis in the newest season of The Amazing Race. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio.
Today's episode was produced by our executive producer, Alex Hoyer.
Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr. St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
The Gateway brings you the day's news each weekday from around the St. Louis region and the state capitals in Jefferson City.
Our schools are accredited. We don't need this bill.
And Springfield.
How many more years must pass before lawmakers see time is of the essence?
I'm Abby Larico. Join me each weekday for The Gateway on the STLPR app or wherever you get podcasts.